Welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Now. I'm George Michalowski here with a very special guest today, Pitt assistant coach Jason Capel. Jason, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So today I wanted to bring you on to talk about a recent trip that I saw you took. You went out to Helsinki, Finland to go see Federiko Federiko, obviously the Pitt starting center from last season. First off, how did this trip come about? When was this, promise given to Federico? I saw in your Instagram caption, you said always, keep your promises. How did this all come about?
Well, when I started recruiting Federico when he was in junior college, one of the things that we talked about was, being that he moved to the States, should I say, from Helsinki in high school. His family doesn't get a chance to come over often. One of the things I told him is, I would love to meet your parents. I would love to see, where you're coming to our university from. So one of the things I would do is, I gave him my promise that if he came here, if he committed to Pitt, signed with Pitt, that one of the things I would do is the first time I got an opportunity is I would fly over to Finland to see him, see his family, sit down and, break bread and just spend time. Again, to get to know the player and his family, much more than just, what you see number 33 running up and down the court, blocking shots and dunking, but to know him on a very personal level. And kids from overseas, like I say, a lot of times it's hard to get to know their parents, but that's something that's very important. And so it was important for me to, as a man, you give your word, you keep your word. And it just kind of fell at the perfect time with him practicing with the national team and things of that nature. So very thankful I was able to do that.
Yeah, man. So day to day, what were you guys up to? Like you said, he's practicing for the Finnish national team. I saw a picture on Twitter the other day of him throwing out a dunk for them.
Yeah.
So what were you guys doing day to day, whether it was with his family, watching him play? What was going on?
Well, first of all, the thing I had to learn about Finland is, George, the sun never went down. Like the sun never went down. And so I never knew what time it was. I mean, if I wasn't looking at my iPhone or looking at my watch, it'd be at 12 o'clock at night and the sun's still up or it hasn't set. So it took time to really understand and I wasn't sleepy. I wasn't really tired because, again, you have sun beaming down on you at all times of the day. So the first day I got there, again, I left on a Thursday, got there Friday. We got something to eat and we just went walking around the city. We took a train into the center city of Helsinki and he just showed me around. We walked around, talked, took in some scenery, and just had a good time, man. Just really exploring, him showing me where he's from, some of the places where he went to school, where he played basketball, where he did, different things. The following day, I was able to watch him practice with the national team. I had been we're in constant contact with his national team coaches. Hanno Matola was a great player for the University of Utah, played in NBA. So they had me over. I walked from my hotel to their Olympic training facility, which is very nice. Watched them practice. The team has lunch together. The whole team, the whole program has lunch together. They allowed me to be there with them as well. And again, just spending time, man, just having some fellowship and things of that nature. Sunday, went and had dinner with his family. His father cooked. Mom came home and joined in. His sister's 14 years old. She was there. Dad pulled out some photo albums. So
There you go.
I got to see some old young pictures of a young Federico. I promised him I wouldn't post them. I promised him I would not show his teammates till he gets back if he gives me permission. But some really cool pictures, really cool experience, seeing how thankful his parents are for his journey. Again, Federico has an incredible story from his family having to escape the Sudan, move on to Cairo, and then, basically seek refuge in Finland. And so to see his family, spend time with them, talk to them, break some bread with them, was really special. So, yeah.
That's a full trip. That's awesome experience all
Yeah,
around.
it's great.
Obviously, you grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a little bit different than Helsinki from the sounds of it. But what was, the basketball atmosphere, the basketball culture like over there, if you could, compare it to the U.S. at all?
Well, first of all, they have a very good program. Again, the facility is the Olympic training facility. So it doesn't just house basketball. You have Olympic sprinters. You have different people, athletes from different sports. They all share the same facility. They're housed right over to the side of this main facility is where all these top level athletes live and train and, go about their life to become some of the best athletes in the world. The basketball part, to be honest, it wasn't much different than what we do. Again, I'm watching Federico practice and I'm looking, and it's a lot of the things that we work on as a team. It's the first time I had seen him run really since, if you remember, he got hurt in the second half of the ACC tournament against Georgia Tech. So it's the first time I seen him run, the first time I seen him jump. So to see him be just as good laterally, to see him healthy, running up and down, catching lobs, dunking, blocking shots, guarding ball screens, that was great. But their level of basketball is very high. They have really good players. Lauri Markkanen, who's an all-star with the Utah Jazz, he was on the flight with me going over there. So they have top-level players. They have a well-run program. They play really hard. It's really physical. They spread you out. They shoot the basketball. And Federico's a guy that cleans up everything defensively, block shots, dunks. And the thing that I was able to see, again, watching him play European basketball is he's worked on his shot. He shot the ball well. He's rebounding and pushing a couple of dribbles and pitching the ball out and then getting out and sprinting. So watching his development, seeing him play the international style and just how his improvement can carry over to having a really good year for us this season.
Man, that's big time. Yeah, like you were talking about, his injury was a huge story when it came to March. Everyone was obviously, when you look back, you remember the great moments in the tournament and the whole run. But going into those games, I remember in Dayton and then going down to Greensboro, it was all about Fede's health. So good to hear that he's feeling better. But when you talk about last season, I guess from the time that you saw him first in JUCO, how is has his development been surprising to you? Did you see, a starting big man last year when you saw him in JUCO? Did you, anticipate that would happen, or what was his development like for you?
Well, I didn't see it because I didn't think we would need it. I mean, we had a pretty good big guy in-house that it was coming off a really, really good season the year before. What I did see was a kid that was very athletic, that was long, that was active, that could really defend, and that could play well above the rim. What I got to know about him is from the time he got here, how good of a kid he is, number one, and just how much he wants to learn. He never runs from work. He works his tail off before practice, after practice, wants to get in extra work. So you understood when you have a guy that has that size, that athleticism, the timing, things of that nature, if they're not afraid to put in the work, they have an opportunity to get better at a pretty rapid rate. I think Fede benefited from opportunity. You look at him from the beginning of the season to what he became as the year went on, it was opportunity, coming in thinking he was going to be a backup, and then, okay, now we need you to be a starter, and we need you to be a really good starter. And so just his confidence, trusting the reps with Coach O'Toole, trusting his teammates developing trust in him, and understanding what his role is, man, like staying in character of who he is for what we need him to be for us to be successful. And in turn, that makes him very successful. And so you had a guy that could play above the rim, that could screen and roll. He's a European big, so he is a little ball friendly. He can make some passes. And defensively, I think he's one of the best players in the country, and a guy that should vie for ACC Defensive Player of the Year because he's just that good. He dominated games for us this year without scoring a lot of points because of what he did defensively that a lot of times didn't even show up in the stat sheet. So we knew we had a guy that wanted to learn. that wasn't afraid of the work, and he wanted to be here. He wanted to be at the University of Pittsburgh with this team and be an integral part of a team that could help turn the program around. So he was grateful, he was thankful, and I think those are big reasons why he had such a great year for us, especially moving to the second part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game at UNC. I believe it was the first possession. They gave it to Baycott down low, or Baycott ended up with the ball. And Fetty kind of bodied him up and got the stop. He missed a floater, a hook shot or something. And you could see in the shot on TV, the entire Pitt bench stands up. Every coach, every player stands up. You could tell that was a huge stop, not just because, obviously you want to get out to an early lead, but that meant a little more. It was like, okay, Fetty's been preparing for this. You could tell this whole team knows about this battle that's going to go down. So obviously he's become a huge part of this team and this team's future. You guys brought in another big man that's, at least from an outside point of view, similar to Fetty in Papa Conte earlier this offseason. It seems like they play a similar style, similar position. They're both international. Do you see Fetty already interacting with Pop? I don't know if they've had the chance to cross paths yet because he's back in Finland, but how do you see that relationship, going forward?
I think it's going to be great. Fetty is on his way back now.
Okay.
Today is Monday. He'll be back tonight around 9 o'clock. I spoke to him when he was in London, connecting through. And I think he's going to hit it off. And I think the biggest reason is we have really good guys. When you look at the guys last year, they called Federico and the twins, the three musketeers. They were always together. They were always around each other. I've never seen, because again, I played overseas, so I understand the culture maybe more than some. But when you had a whole locker room watching soccer, nobody on our team they may play FIFA on, the Xbox or the PS5, but they don't know the rules. They don't know what's going on. But the team was so close-knit that everyone understood how much it meant to Jorge, to G, to Federico. Man, all of us were in there watching this thing. So that just speaks to who we are as a team, who our guys are. And Papa's the same way. Papa's a kid that wanted to find a home where he was comfortable. Thankfully, it was us the second time around. And he's fit right in. Again, he's a high-energy guy that plays hard. He's physical. He wants to learn. And he gives us even more depth. When you look at when Federico was injured, that thrust G into now playing 38 minutes at times, which is tough for anybody, especially a freshman that was, outsized in the weight by really everybody we played against. So now to have three, and you talked about them being international guys, well, guys that can make a shot, guys that are skilled, guys that can handle the ball, guys that can do different things on the court. So now you add another layer of versatility of that size and length, and guys that can play together, or guys that can play a selective role for a team that we think has a chance to be pretty good again.
Yeah, I mean, the front court has become a massive strength going forward. The front court's so young right now, and you'd think, like, when you were talking about G last year, I think of the Tolu Smith matchup, obviously, in Dayton. And that was, I think, after the game, he was gassed, and in the press he said something, "Oh, I am exhausted," or something hilarious. But it's great to see the front court, bulking up this offseason, getting deeper as well. For you, you said Coach O'Toole usually works with the bigs, at least from what I've heard. For you, this backcourt this year, again, young, you guys bring in Ish from Rhode Island. But what are you excited about the backcourt this year?
They're young, but they're really talented. Again, there's going to be a steep learning curve anytime you take a step up in levels, which you do when you go from high school to college. You have to learn. You have to try to pick things up quickly. But, when you look at a Jalen Lowe, he's a coach's son. Little Bub Carrington, he's a coach's son. Carlton, we call him Little Bub.
Yeah, it seems like everyone in Baltimore does
too.
Bub,
Yeah. So he's a coach's son, and these are guys that know how to play, understand how to play. You know, Dior's a guy that's a jet with the basketball, can be electric, can take tough shots, has been in tough moments, and he's grown on and off the court this year, gotten stronger and things of that nature. Ish is a ready-made player. He's done it at a high level, coming from Rhode Island against, you know, teams in the A-10 and high major schools. At that level, he can score, he can really get downhill, and he brings a leadership with his voice. You know, the guys that I've worked with, when you talk about the wings and some of the skill guys, you know, Zach Alston is a high wire act. He's really, really athletic, plays above the rim, and he has skill as well. He can shoot the ball. And so watching, you know, when you talk about the new guys that have come in, you know, we've tried to plug in where guys fit what we want to do. You know, Zach is long and athletic. He can play multiple positions and guard multiple positions. Ish as well. You know, when you talk about either guard position, Bub's a guy that's known for scoring the basketball. And I think he's a better IQ facilitator than maybe people even know, because he can really, really score. And then Jalen's a really good player. He's mature beyond his years, I believe. He is a point guard. He thinks it. He understands it. You know, so adding guys to come into what we already have when you speak about the front court, we added talent, albeit young. They're talented. They come from great stock, and they've been here all summer waiting to learn and get better. Marlon Barnes got here, you know, at the end of first session of summer school, now in second session. And it's the same way, another long athlete that can shoot the basketball, play and defend multiple positions. So we like our group. We like the new guys, anxious to get back to work as a team. We had our first team workout today. Getting Federico back will be great. And it's time to put in the work to build on what we did this past season.
Yes, sir. So we'll be paying attention, obviously, all off season to your Spain trip as well. Safe travels on that. Good luck the rest of the off season. And really, thank you so much for joining us today, Coach Capel. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. Hell to Pitt.
Of course, man.